The scandal that's rocked the royal family to its core, Prince Andrew's relationship with convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. On Sunday, Nine's 60 Minutes explores new revelations in the wake of Virginia Giuffre's posthumously published memoir.
At the beginning,
is it possible that you met Virginia Roberts?
Never happened.
There was a time, not so long ago, when the very notion seemed like the stuff of fevered fiction or anti-monarchist fantasy, a scenario so implausible that it would be laughed out of any serious legal discussion. The idea was that a senior member of the British royal family, a man once second in line to the throne and a decorated naval officer, could genuinely trade the velvet-draped comforts of Windsor for the cold, steel reality of a prison cell. Yet, here we are, watching the impossible curdle into a very real, very dangerous probability. The saga of Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, and his catastrophic association with the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has long been the scandal that the monarchy simply cannot wash away. But recently, the tectonic plates beneath the House of Windsor have shifted again, and this time,
breaking tonight, Prince Andrew is giving up all of his titles, including the Duke of York. It follows a string of scandals surrounding his relationship with paedophile Jeffrey Epstein and his relationship with an alleged Chinese spy. But, of course, he will remain a prince, as this remains his birthright.
The tremors are threatening to bring the entire edifice of Andrew's protected existence crashing down. We are no longer discussing mere reputational damage, the stripping of honorary military titles, or the humiliation of being hidden away from public view. We are now traversing the perilous landscape of criminal liability, federal charges, and the potential for incarceration. For years, the narrative surrounding Prince Andrew has been one of deflection and denial, a stubborn refusal to engage with the reality of the accusations leveled against him. The infamous interview.
Virginia Giuffre, the woman who accused Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew of crimes, has died, aged 41. Her family has issued a statement confirming she died by suicide at her farm near Perth overnight.
Disastrous attempts at explanation and the eventual settling of a civil case were all assumed by the palace to be the end of the matter. A messy chapter closed with a heavy financial settlement and a retreat into the shadows. However, the ghost of this scandal has proven remarkably resilient, fueled not by old gossip, but by a fresh torrent of revelations that have moved the needle from embarrassing to potentially illegal. The catalyst for this sudden escalation is a leaked email, a piece of digital correspondence that has reverberated far beyond the usual royal news cycle and landed squarely on the desks of legal experts and investigators on both sides of the Atlantic. The details are as specific as they are damning. According to reports that have sent shockwaves through the British establishment.
Now, an ex-royal staff member has opened up about his time working at Buckingham Palace. Dan Ottaway, who served as a chef, claims that out of all of the royals that he catered for, Prince Andrew was difficult and more demanding than others.
Andrew is alleged to have personally directed a Metropolitan Police Protection Officer, a public servant paid for by the taxpayer to ensure the safety of royalty, to instead act as a private investigator. The objective was not security but leverage. The allegation suggests that the prince demanded dirt on his accuser, Virginia Giuffre. But it is the nature of the information obtained that has legal scholars and criminal defense attorneys widening their eyes in disbelief.
Prince Andrew was quite difficult, and he was much more demanding in the words that he used than his relatives. But he had a lot of praise for Princess Kate. She used to bring the children in after a meal to meet all the staff and be very, very grateful.
The prince allegedly obtained Giuffre's full date of birth and, critically, her United States Social Security number. To the uninitiated, a 9-digit number might seem like a trivial detail, a piece of bureaucratic flotsam. But in the United States, the Social Security number is the linchpin of identity. It is the golden key to banking, credit, healthcare, and government existence. It is protected by federal laws so stringent that they are akin to the protections surrounding currency counterfeiting.
My dealings with Andrew were very minor. And very few, but the odd occasion that I did have dealings with him, he was arrogant, he was rude, he was bumptious, and I don't take that from anybody, and I gave him as good as he tried to give me. I was once told by a colleague, well, speaking to him like that, you'll get fired. I said, no, he won't tell anybody, and bullies don't tell anybody.
Spencer Cuven, a tenacious lawyer who has represented 9 of Epstein's victims, has been unequivocal in his assessment of this development. He notes that knowingly transferring, possessing, or using another person's social security number without their consent is not a gray area. It is a federal crime. Under the Identity Theft and Assumption Deterrence Act and the Social Security Act, such a violation can carry a sentence of up to 15 years in a federal penitentiary. This is where the story pivots from a royal drama into a criminal procedural. If the Federal Bureau of Investigation decides that this evidence warrants a probe, the Duke of
Actually, Prince Andrew was totally different. He could fly off the handle at the smallest thing. He would be abusive. He would shout, he would swear. So we had a particular issue with Prince Andrew.
of York could be facing an indictment that has nothing to do with sexual assault statutes and everything to do with identity fraud. This places the Metropolitan Police in London in an excruciatingly difficult position. For years, Scotland Yard has faced accusations of handling the prince with kid gloves, of operating a two-tiered justice system where the powerful are insulated from the consequences of their actions. The force has previously reviewed allegations relating to Andrew on 3 separate occasions, including in 2021, and each time they concluded that no further action would be taken. But the landscape has changed. Former lawyers for the victims are arguing that this is no longer a he said, she said dispute about events in a townhouse 2 decades ago. This is about the misuse of official police powers in the present day. It is about a member of the royal family potentially weaponizing the state security apparatus to discredit and intimidate a survivor of sex trafficking. If a police officer used their badge and database access to harvest sensitive data for a prince's personal vendetta, that constitutes misconduct in public office, a serious offense in UK law that carries a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. The pressure is mounting, not just from the media, but from the legal community. Calls for a thorough, transparent investigation are growing louder, with campaigners emphasizing that the justice system cannot be seen as a pawn for the privileged. The argument is gaining traction that if the roles were reversed, if a private citizen had utilized a corrupt police officer to steal the identity data of a legal opponent, arrests would have already been made. This disparity is becoming impossible for the authorities to ignore without severely damaging public trust in the rule of law. Furthermore, this renewed scrutiny brings the spotlight back to the role of the palace establishment itself. The leaked email raises uncomfortable questions about who else knew what and when. The machinery of the monarchy is vast and intricate. Did palace aides know that police officers were being tasked with digging up American Social Security numbers? If so, their silence could be interpreted as complicity. This is happening at a time when the monarchy, under the reign of King Charles III, is desperately trying to project an image of stability, unity, and modern integrity. The king, known for his contemplative nature and desire for a slimmed-down monarchy, finds himself in a predicament that threatens to overshadow the early years of his reign. Sources close to the firm suggest that the relationship between the king and his younger brother has disintegrated. Charles, who has always viewed the monarchy as a fragile institution that exists by the consent of the people, appears to have run out of patience. The swift removal of Andrew's remaining honors and titles was a ruthless, necessary act of preservation. It was a signal that the institution comes first and blood ties come second. By stripping the Duke of York of his patronages and military affiliations, the king has essentially placed a firewall between the crown and the individual. It is an attempt to ensure that if Andrew falls, he falls alone. The days of the firm circling the wagons to protect the favorite son are definitively over. There is a palpable sense that the palace is bracing for impact, aware that storm clouds are gathering on multiple fronts. Beyond the identity fraud allegations, there is the lingering issue of Andrew's conduct during his decade-long tenure as a distinct trade envoy for the United Kingdom. Critics and watchdogs are revisiting his activities between 2001 and 2011, a period characterized by opaque dealings, associations with controversial figures in Kazakhstan and Libya, and a penchant for bypassing embassy advice to stay in luxury hotels on the taxpayer's dime. The organization Republic, which campaigns for an elected head of state, is actively seeking legal advice on whether charges related to corruption or misconduct in public office could be brought regarding these past roles. This adds yet another layer of legal jeopardy to an already precarious situation. As the walls close in, the conversation has shifted to the practical reality of Andrew's future. Where does a disgraced prince go when he becomes a liability to the state? The parallels with Juan Carlos of Spain, the former king who sought refuge in the United Arab Emirates amid financial scandals, are becoming increasingly hard to ignore. Royal historians and commentators are openly discussing the possibility of a prince in exile. There is speculation that Andrew may be forced to leave the United Kingdom entirely, perhaps finding sanctuary in the Gulf states, where he has maintained contacts. The logistics of such a move are complex, involving security, finance, and diplomatic protocols, but the alternative, remaining in Britain as a pariah while police investigations swirl around him, may soon become untenable. The loss of Royal Lodge, the grand Windsor residence that Andrew has stubbornly clung to, seems all but inevitable in this context.